No, I think I still do need that. Yep. All right. Good to see you. I feel like I should dance or something up here. It'd probably be a little bit more entertaining because the Hershey's can't dance too well. Thank you for letting me come and just spend a few minutes with you. I know this is a great event you have once or twice a year, right? Every month. Every month. What day? Because you feed well. Yeah. What a great event just to get together. Obviously, you're all patrons of the district and are passionate about our community, and I appreciate just the opportunity to come and talk about the election that's coming up. It's really an important one for our kids. And so, some of you, how many of you were at our Golden Friends luncheon? Okay, you're going to hear a little bit of the same. So hopefully it can answer some of the questions again. But we'll jump right in. So as many of you know, this is my second full year here at Reed Spring. My wife Amy and our 6 children came down to the district. I already had one son graduate. Yes, I saw a couple looks. I have a really wonderful wife. That's how you handle 6 kids. Really wonderful wife. But we came down, obviously when we came down, one of the things we were most excited about is being down in this world-class community. You know, we have this phenomenal lake, phenomenal environment. Really with COVID getting shut down, the Hershey's were on the lake enjoying family time. It was just a wonderful blessing. You know, they love going to Silver Dollar City and enjoying that. And as we've arrived here, I remember having conversations early on with Carrie Padilla. I'm going to point to you. You're over there. And she was telling me, because Carrie's tapped in so much to the community, was telling me how amazing this community is and how unique it is. And I was like, okay, we'll see how this plays out. And we have been in a variety of areas as a family as we've advanced my career, and we have never been in a place that's so wonderful as this entire community, and the way we commit and dedicate to kids. And being a faith-based community was a really big part of us. So as we came down and I started having conversations with board members, we have 2 board members here. We started talking with administrators, teachers, like your wife, having conversations about how is our school district doing? How is it being perceived in the community? How are we serving kids? At the end of the day, are we providing a world-class, top-notch education? You know, I don't know about you, but you see some really nasty things on the media, right? On TV, social media, and I see a decline in society, some decline in how kids are being raised. And I think we all could kind of attest to that. And I feel like there are 3 most influential components to raise a child. Number 1, that's your mom and dad, your parents raising you. Number 2, it's your faith. Churches play a significant role in raising children. And number 3, it's the school district. Our school district and the Reed Spring School District touches the lives of more kids, more people in the community than any other organization in the community. We touch every single part of our entire area, not just Kimberling City, but Cape Fear and Indian Point. I mean, we just go all throughout Stone County. And so we started having conversations about this. And at the root of the conversation were kids. Now, Shelby, you want to stand up? You're on my screen. Let's give a round of applause for Shelby. I talk about Shelby. So we have 3 kids on my screen that represent 3 different age groups. We have little Carter to the right. Little Carter is my son, so I'm a little biased. I love little Carter. He's 4 years old. Well, he'll be 4 years old on Monday. He's got a birthday coming. Getting ready, that preschool, pre-learning experience. Of course, we have Shelby. Shelby's kind of getting ready to prepare soon to go to middle school. She's kind of that middle-aged child getting ready to go through those experiences. And then we have Cassidy Quick. Many of you may know the Quick family. And I want you to think about children in your lives, whether that's neighbors, grandchildren, whatever that might be. Think about a kid and think about the impact that the school has on your children, the children that you love. So I think about my teacher. This is Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee changed my life. My mission in life is to serve children. And I can honestly stand up here in front of you and say the vast majority of my purpose in life was centered around the influence that this man had on my life. So every school, I'm going to say this, every Shelby, every Carter, every Cassidy Quick deserves to have that kind of teacher who came to my life and drastically changed my life. I mean, I won't go into it, but he's a man of true character, just gave me hope and inspiration. And so every child deserves that. Going to school should not be a lottery pick. And what I mean by that, we shouldn't say, well, it kind of depends on which teacher you have or what school you go to. It kind of depends, well, are you going to Reed Spring or are you going to Branson? Every child in our community deserves the best education. So we decided, actually, a year ago, we were blessed to use this facility to put together a team of community members to develop a plan. Now, as I said, I was a new superintendent, and I did not want anybody in the community or the school district to think that I had all the answers and that I was coming into the district with my own agenda and I was going to tell everyone how they were supposed to operate. So we began assembling people from all different walks of life, from business, from church and faith. We have some of you, raise your hand if you're part of our planning in any capacity. The Gaspers, we have board members. We had several people in our community, Silver City, Brad Thomas, Shelby, or Sheila Thomas from the chamber. And then we had families from every part of our district, for the young kids, the middle school age kids, and the older kids. Overall, we had about 200 community members say to the Board of Education, these are the areas where we know we aren't doing well, that we need to improve, and this is what we believe our core values are as a district. And so I'm kind of standing before you today as a superintendent representing the district, but saying to you that the plan and why we're going through this election wasn't because of me. It was because we assembled a team that said, you know what? We need to do better for our kids. We've done great things, but we can be better. And so the Board of Education ultimately approved the plan. And I think that's, as a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer in the district. When you're coming to me and you're saying, and my parents are moving down. I have my parents moving down. Actually, I just went and moved them out here from Washington State. So they're settling down here. And they're going to be on a fixed income. Why should we contribute to this? What are you going to use our tax dollars for? And how do I know you're not going to waste that money on something different than what you're saying it's going to be used on? So one thing that I did as I came in is I required the Board of Education to have 100% approval of the strategic plan. So they have their hands wrapped around it. The second thing I did is I made sure that my evaluation, how they hold me accountable, is directly related to the strategic plan, and they'll attest to that. So there's accountability to ensure that we're educating our kids the way we're going to say we're going to educate our kids. So, all right. So, as I said, on April 6th, we're going to propose the levy. This is one of the strategies that the community came up with. They realized in order for us to become better, we're going to need support of our community to do that. So our proposition that you'll see on the ballot is Prop RS. Reed Spring, recruiting and retaining quality employees like Mr. Lee, who saved my life. Really was a blessing. And then implementing the strategic plan. I'm just going to walk briefly through this with you. Now, Pastor Hardy will know this. He's obviously got a spouse who's an educator. But Missouri is one of the worst paying states for teachers. In Stowe County, in the Reed Spring School District, we're one of the lowest paying school districts in the region. And so this is an area we know we need to address. When we're looking at trying to bring in the best educators to work with our kids, we are having a hard time bringing them in from a Nixa, a Branson, a Republic, a Willard. We started looking at those and realized that that's our competition, and we're not paying our teachers adequately. We're way below. It's been a goal of ours since the beginning, since I arrived. As a patron, it's important for you to understand that every 70 cents of every dollar that any district spends, really our district's no different, 70 cents of every dollar is used to pay for salaries and benefits of employees. And that's how every district works. I think that's important to be transparent on that. So we came up with a strategy. One of our strategies in the strategic plan is how do we recruit world-class employees? If we're going to bring in the best teachers, the best bus drivers, the best custodians, so we're going to try to recruit these individuals, how do we bring them in? And so we've developed a plan to address that, to address those compensation gaps that are in our area. The other thing that we're doing is we're partnering with Evangel University to develop a training program for our teachers so that they're getting a world-class experience of professional development so that when they're working with Carter or Cassie or Shelby, we know that they're not just good individuals and good-hearted people, but the things they're doing with our kids really are high quality. I know, when I look at Carter, my goal for him is just to have the best experience through school. And when he leaves, that he's a productive citizen. That he's not, living off of the government, that he's able to be a positive contributor to our environment because we've educated him. This strategy is focused on early childhood education. I will tell you this is one of the biggest deficits, one of the biggest areas in our community that we struggle with. We do not have adequate support for families for children that are under 5, that are under kindergarten age. If a family wants to come down here, I was having conversations with several business owners, but I can think of just Ryan Hamilton, who works here down at Port of Kimberling. Ryan has been telling me how difficult it is for him to hire employees because he can't get any employee that wants to come down here because there's no childcare. There's no opportunity for families to be able to have their kids attend anywhere down in our community. They have to stay in Nixa or Springfield or even Branson, but we don't have that here. So this strategy is going to address that. Pause for a second, take my breath, because I get excited. This is exciting work because I feel so passionate about what this can do for kids. The other thing that we know is that the research shows that if you take a child like Carter, who's been exposed, Carter and I, we read a book every night, 2 books every night, and I said this in all my presentations because it's true. If I skip a word in the book, Carter gets angry. Read it again. I have to go back through it. Even though I want to go to sleep. We have our books, right? Because we expose him to good books. We talk about, how to socialize, how to behave, all those character pieces that, we hope families are doing. But so many of our kids, I don't know how many of you know this, but about 65% of our kids that come to our schools live in poverty. 65%. Many of those kids have never been exposed to even a letter or a book until they've come to kindergarten. Many of those kids have never learned how to even interact with another child. And so what we see is when a kid like Carter, who's been exposed, goes to kindergarten, they're so far ahead. You can track Carter, the kids like Carter, all the way through, and they're going to do so much better than their peers. Then you take another kid who hasn't had any exposure to early childhood, and you can see that those kids fall behind, and they're almost at a point where they cannot catch up. It's heartbreaking. And we see it in our kindergarten, our data. When we look at data, you can see it very clearly that children that are exposed to early learning experiences are so far better off. And so we feel passionately about this. We want to expand our Parents as Teachers program. That's having an adult teacher, educator, go into our community homes, sit down with parents wherever their homes are, whatever they look like, and help them learn how to better be parents, how to help their children. Just compare us to Hollister, which I don't like to do. Board members know that. But Hollister has like 3 parents as teacher educators in their district, and they're a lot smaller. We have 1 person trying to service an entire community of 65% poverty. So this is an area that we're going to address and expand. Very exciting. Keep on hitting that button. The next strategy is all about academic quality and excellence, and I kind of talked about that already, but we have an entire strategy to address quality teaching. When Johnny or when Carter or Shelby is struggling in school, do we have the best strategies? Are we employing the best methods? So this strategy is used to address all those struggles that a teacher encounters with a child and how to make them better. Because our mission is to educate every child and provide them a world-class education. That's what our community has asked us to do. And so this strategy addresses educating those individuals. The next strategy is student well-being. So imagine 65% of your student body living in poverty. Imagine a large number of those kids that don't have clothes to wear, that when they come to school we clothe them, that don't have a meal, their best meal, or maybe their only meals are breakfast and lunch that they have at school, and the meals that we send home on the weekends. And so imagine some of the trauma these kids are experiencing. When they come to our schools, we have children that are living in abuse. We have children who are seeing drug deals going down in their own home, who are being physically and emotionally and sexually abused. That's a reality of 65% of our kids. I mean, we have some of these challenges. And so this strategy is, how do we help these kids? how do we help a kid who's going into a classroom with Shelby, who's on target, ready to learn, but now this kid has had so much trauma that they are chucking chairs across the room because they don't know how to control themselves. We can do more to support those children and also to provide Shelby a quality education. And so this strategy looks at providing an alternative learning experience from pre-kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, where that child who's experiencing trauma can get their education, get the support academically and with their emotional support. And then the children like Shelby, who's maybe on target, their learning won't stop because of some of the other kids. So this strategy is one that we feel really passionate about. It's also looking at adding additional or 2 social workers. We have no social workers, and the social worker can bridge the gap between school and home. And so our community felt really passionate about that. The next strategy is about community awareness and engagement. This has to do with partnering with you, partnering with parents, partnering with grandparents who are raising children, helping them be trained, helping them understand how to best educate their children and partner with us. It's also, I have a philosophy, I have a belief that our community, we were talking about our community here as we were sitting at the table, and I've been in a number of districts, and I can tell you there is nothing quite like what we're experiencing in the Reese Springs School District right now. It's so exciting. And I have a vision that when we go to any kind of meeting in the state of Missouri, if I'm in St. Louis going to a superintendent meeting and they hear that we're presenting on good things we're doing down the district, that room is packed because we have such an amazing program here at the Reese Springs School District. So this strategy helps to develop a marketing plan and a strategy to support that. The last strategy that is part of our plan is college and career readiness. I don't know if you can kind of see the trends over years. It used to be a long time ago, everybody, we're just going to go to college. Everybody has to go to college. During the Reagan administration, they did a big study, and it showed, hey, everybody's got to go to college. So they just pushed that. Well, now we shifted back to no, we have kids that are going to Gibson Technical Center, it's our career center, that are leaving making significant dollars, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year or more without student loan debt. And so we are learning that college is a path. Maybe Carter will go to college, but maybe Cassidy, maybe her best path is to go to trade school or go right into a career path. And so this is looking at our community and realizing that in our Stone County community, in the Branson Tri-Lakes area, we have businesses that our seniors and juniors could go partner with and get apprenticeship experiences and internship experiences so that they're getting on-the-job training. So when they leave, here's a story. I don't want to take too much time, but here's a quick little story. We have a welding program in our career center. I don't know if any of you are welders. I welded in 7th grade, and I don't think it held together too well. But we had a kid that was a welder. He came back as an alumni to talk to the students, and he brought his pay stub as a welder. His pay stub was a 6-figure pay stub. And he was showing the kids, look, what you're doing here at the Career Center, you can create that kind of money and not go to college. So we know there's a variety of experiences. So this strategy is looking to expand those opportunities for our children. So when we started budgeting for this, now I'll pause here and tell you, when you start to see lots of dollar signs, when we all operate on a lower amount, it's easy to get overwhelmed. But our school district budget, we have a $26 million budget. Okay, we are the largest employer in the entire county, year-round employer. We have 330 employees, and we service 1,800 kids a year. So it just costs a lot to be able to do that. If we were not trying to actually improve the district, if we were just going to say we're maintaining status quo, I would still be coming to you saying we need community support because we need help financially. And I'll show you that here in a second. But now we're talking about not just maintaining status quo, because our kids deserve more than that. We're talking about extending. So we estimate that budget to be anywhere from $2.1 to $2.7 million based on that implementation plan. So for you to understand that every school district's different. So Blue Eye and Galena, they're funded differently than we are. We rely about 75%, 74% of our budget is dependent on taxpayers' dollars. The rest is state and federal. Where Galena, they might be 50% dependent on their local revenue. And they're dependent a lot more on tax base. So it's important to know that our district, while we do get some federal and state dollars, our district functions because of our tax dollars. So it's really important, I think, to understand that. The other story that's going on is that over time we have seen that our funds here have been declining. We have been losing revenue. We've had some declining enrollment. And as that enrollment's declined, and now it's not declining, we've actually done an analysis of that we are declining, and now we should start to see an upward trend. If you see all the homes that are getting purchased right now, we should see some enrollment. But we've lost a little over $1 million in state aid over the last few years because of that. But here's one thing that I think a lot of our patrons don't know. In 2017-18, we, as a district, going into December, did not have enough money in our bank account to pay bills. We didn't have enough money to pay our staff. So at December time, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make payroll. So that meant the district had to go create a partnership with the bank and get a loan out to be able to make bill payments. The next year, we ended the year with $20,000 in the bank. When you're talking about 330 employees, and there's a reason for that. And I'm not standing up here. The district, in my opinion, has done some really good things financially over the years. They've cut a lot of positions. We have, in the last 2 years, cut significantly the budgets. We've also are moving away from a very expensive student computer that we've been giving students. We've been spending about $1,300 per computer. We're going to be spending now $250. That's a decision that we kind of moved forward this last year. So we're really being as frugal as we can. But the reality, this is the story that's happened, and this is why we're at, because cost of everything, as every year goes up, cost of living goes up. Well, over time, we are the lowest tax-based district in the entire region. So down here at the bottom is our school district. We have a 2.99 tax levy that we have. And you can see Blue Eye's all the way at the top. So Blue Eye's a little over $4. Hurley's 3.9, Nick's at 3.6. And you can kind of see our entire region, we are the lowest taxed region. We are also one of the lowest in the entire state. So this column here, you don't need to pay too much attention to, but this would show how much money we would generate if we had the same levy just as Billings School District, or Crane, or Forsyth, or Branson. If we had the same one just as Billings, we would generate about $873,000 more dollars. We had a patron say this to me. He said, or she said, Cody, when I see this, what I see is that in Blue Eye and all these other school districts, those patrons are paying more towards their child's education than we are, and that bothers me. What I see that story, but I also see that the district has been really frugal and has really tried to do great things with what it's been given. But if you see this chart here, it's kind of messy. This solid blue line here at the bottom, that's the Reed Springs School District. That's our tax rate. We've been just stable. Matter of fact, I've tried to find when the last time was that the district asked for any local support to raise their tax rates. The only thing I could find is in the 90s, there was a state law that required everyone in the state to raise a little bit. But the district hasn't had to do that. Whereas you can see the chart of every other school district, they are going at this multiple times, going to their patrons and getting levies increased. And so they've been improving those over time to address the increased cost to educate children. So the other story is we have to operate. We have to have buses. Our average bus life right now is 18 to 20 years. We have roofs that need to be repaired and HVAC and all those normal operational things. Right now, actually, it's a lot lower because this is a couple weeks old. But at the time of this, we had about $200,000 left in our budget that was legally allowed to improve facilities. Based off of the budget that was created, we are ending the school year in the negatives, which means we're going to have to use money that's taken away from academic, teachers, and supporting teacher compensation, those types of things, to be able to get kids to school. And if you look at like a Blue Eye, who's north of us, they have somewhere upwards to over $1 million that they're able to use to improve infrastructure. We're significantly low, and we're going to be in a kind of a bind. So we're proposing a 55-cent levy increase, 55 cents for every $100 of assessed valuation. Not 55 cents of every dollar. I had somebody say, whoa, 55 cents for every dollar? No. And I'll show you that here in a second. So this chart will show you kind of where we're going to land with the 55 cents. We're expecting that the 55 cents will generate somewhere around $2.2 million. Now, if you recall that slide that showed that I had said that we estimated the budget to be about 2.1 to 2.7 to address the strategic plan. So you might be like, Cody, you're kind of nuts. Why didn't you go for a little bit higher? Because you're only generating 2.2 million. And this is the reason why I feel strongly about this. It is our responsibilities as educators, as a superintendent, as a board, it's our responsibility to be very thoughtful with our budget. It's our responsibility to be very transparent and very frugal, not to waste dollars. And so I feel like we can propose a 55-cent increase. We can generate $2.2 million, even though we may need more than that. And we have some of these other fund issues to deal with buses and stuff. We have made some really smart decisions with our budget over the last 2 years that's going to be able to help make that gap. I also feel like this is a good spot for us to be at so we don't have to come back to you and say, look, we need more support. We need to raise taxes again. The goal is not to get there. This isn't about being competitive, because if it was, I would be above Branson. Be like, oh, we're going to beat Branson out. This is about supporting our students in our strategic plan. And that's why we came up with the 55 cents. The average family in the community will be spending a little over $8 a month for this increase. So if you think about the benefits that this is going to have to Carter, Shelby, and Cassidy and other students like them, and the amount, we kind of equate it to just choose not to go to McDonald's one time a month and you're supporting our community. Well, if you're in the Hershey home, you're probably going to support a lot more because we have a lot of kids and a lot of mouths to feed. So we have on our website, and I do have a screenshot. If you type in Reed Springs School District, we have a link there that says Prop RS, and you can go to our fact sheet, and it'll show you exactly what this will cost you. You can see, okay, here's my property value, and it'll show you exactly what that amount will cost. My goal is just to be transparent. Here's our problem. Here's where we're at. Here's our goals. Here's who we're trying to become for our kids. You have, as a voters, the right to decide how you want to choose. And you might be wondering, well, why? What's in this for me? Maybe I don't have kids that are in the district. And I want to just challenge that thought that our kids matter to our community. I get a little emotional. Our kids matter so much to what we're trying to do. And if we can't dedicate time and energy and resources to our kids, then I think we have something wrong. We are seeing a decline in the family structure and in homes. And I feel like the strategic plan is so intentional about helping every child. The other thing that I believe in is that you see is if you track quality school districts and the impact that they have on property values, there's a direct correlation. The better the school district, the better the property values. The lower the crime rates, the lower the teen pregnancies, the lower the non-workers when they're leaving high school. So obviously, I've taken a lot of your time. We do have, again, a lot of information on our website. There's also a committee that's Yes for RS, RS Stronger Together. Many people are part of that committee, even that are part of the church here, that can answer questions for you. The Funks and the Gaspers are back there in the back, and others. There's a lot of resources here. I'm just trying to be as transparent. Obviously, I'm passionate, and I believe in this. And one of the questions we've had from patrons is why 55 cents, or why, the health department didn't ask for quite so much. And I'll tell you, you cannot compare the lives touched, you cannot compare that to what we do in the Reed Springs School District. The Reed Springs School District serves every facet of this community, and so that's why we feel like this is such an important initiative. We are, we're cautious as a family. We're very frugal as a family as well, but we also believe investing in our children. So that's my dog and pony show without a dance. So I will leave it to you. If you have questions or if anybody wants to put on a performance, you're welcome to come get the mic.
When's the election?
April 6th. Yep, April 6th. Yes, sir.
I was very impressed with the luncheon you put on for us the other day, and I thank you for that. Students were excellent.
Thank you.
It was just super. I've listened to what you said very attentively, and I see the infrastructure of Stone County
That's a tough question. Is there a piece in the... I have seen, as I've traveled and experienced different school districts and states and researched quality school districts, I feel strongly that our plan, the plan that we have to put together, will address the gaps that our children need that are living in poverty and are struggling. We can make excuses. We could say, we don't have X, we don't have Y, we don't have Z. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that we can do to help and bless the lives of children is to provide that quality educational experience. So at the heart of what I believe, I don't feel like there's an infrastructure piece that we can't address as a community to benefit and bless our children. I really don't. I attended an economic summit here last year, beginning of last year, talking about, we don't have some of those low, middle level income. Home housing market here is kind of tough. It's tough for some folks and those types of things. But from what we can do as a school district, we have 1,800 kids right now that are getting educated in our walls, 64% of which are free and reduced lunch living in poverty. I feel like what we're doing really will address those needs. I stand behind that. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's a great question. I appreciate it. Yes? Yes. I should have our board member. That is a great question. So the question was, she's kind of just experienced kids in her community, kids that she's connected to, and she feels like they aren't being exposed to quality learning. Especially, it's essentially what you're saying. They're not getting the education that you feel they should be getting. And we have talked about that since day one, that at the heart of everything we're trying to do within this plan, it's not about dog and ponies. It's not about a building. This is about providing the best learning experience for our children. And so I feel strongly like our Board of Education, they're tapped into what you talked about, like teaching Constitution, teaching core principles of reading and writing and arithmetic. Those are pieces that we are embedding in our plan. We talked about that with our strategic planning team that met in this building last year. And we looked at those gaps, but we believe we have a plan to be able to address those. And in order to do that, we feel like one of the biggest things that I talked about was that early childhood learning experience. We have kids that are home that aren't getting exposed to any kind of literature. And so we've also talked about, because I think I kind of see where some of those gaps are, where you might be thinking, how is technology playing into this? That's where my brain goes. I have 6 kids, and we're really conservative about their technology use. But how much time are they on that device versus quality writing? And am I right? So we have intentionally thought about designing that into our plan. That's part of our second strategy, academic excellence. And we're creating expectations and standards for those classrooms so that when a kid comes in, we know what to expect from them and how much device time they're actually going to get to have versus how much time they actually have with pen and pencil, on paper and pencil. So I feel really like at the heart of, like, that's my passion. What you're talking about, quality learning, that's my passion. That's really why the board hired me. I mean, Jolene will attest to that. That's why I passed the interview, because I'm so, at the end of the day, it was what Mr. Lee did with me when he sat down by me, knee to knee, helping guide me. And so all this other stuff doesn't matter, but that's the most critical. So I feel like that's what our plan's about.
And I think, too, that a lot of part of the plan is that we want world-class teachers. And we want to, not keep one for a year and then lose them to another district, and that is what we have a gap. And so if we can keep them and retain them, and we've moved into do professional development for them, that's part of these gaps in helping our children, too. And I have 3 boys that live in the district. I've got one that's there to graduate, one that has, and then one that's a little bit younger. And, you don't want those gaps. But part of having that world-class education is keeping the teachers. And so we can do that with this new proposal as well, and offering them those professional development. And then, like you said, working with them to ensure that we are meeting those educational expectations. we have the data, we have the academic performance, and that's what we're working on.
One thing I was impressed that you said about your computer, I think that's what we're doing, is just giving to the kids. I mean,
Yeah.
even parents.
Yes.
And grandparents.
Yeah, the device is a problem.
When our grandchildren were growing up, that is not what they got. They got books for Christmas, they got an educational toy, and then when we went out on road trips, that's how we discussed with them and taught what they were learning.
You're having conversation. Yeah. You're exploring the world and having all those experiences. And so, yeah.
TV was not like part of that.
And now technology is all of it. It seems like, yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Like with anything that's in education, the success of your program, in my opinion, depends on getting these kids' parents involved. That is a big obstacle when you take them to school and you teach them something and then they go home and the parents don't care what you taught.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you touched on that a little bit, but how do you know, you're going to send somebody out to help get the parents involved, and some of them will
Right.
agree with what you're doing, and some of them will tell you to go take a hike. You know, how do you make this a success?
Well, I think so the question was, how do you make this a success in terms of helping parents understand the value of education, investing in their children? And I would say this isn't just a school district issue. This is a community issue. And I think there's many things within our local church community, faith community that is addressing that as well. But from our standpoint, I mean, we have strategies. I mean, I could spend a lot of time talking about specific action steps from having parents as teachers into their home. We're also going to be having pop-up preschools going out into our community so that parents can get educated and kids can get educated where they're at, providing transportation so they get home. We have one of our strategies is directly to address helping, I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but it's essentially bringing parents in to educate them on how to be better parents. So we have pieces involved, but we're looking at partnering with our community to help that. Help, what can we do with your church community? How can we tap into that? Because it is a challenge. How do you get the human parent component to shift?
So what data do you track to establish the baseline to make sure that you're going up?
Well, we track their reading and writing comprehension, their levels. That's one of the biggest data pieces. If kids can read and write on grade level, then we know they're progressing well. We know that they're moving well. So that's one of the big data pieces that we'll look at just to see that students are progressing academically.
And I don't mean in school-wise, I mean in getting the parents involved more than what they are.
Yeah, that's a great question.
If it can be used, if there is anything.
Well, he's asking what data can you use to see how parents are engaging. I think from a school district standpoint, that's a tough one. That's a tough question. I think the data pieces that I would go to would be those academic data pieces, or how many visits we're getting into those homes and conversations we're having with those parents, how many community events are we getting, what kind of involvement are we getting from parents when we're putting on those trainings, those sessions, what kind of involvement is. When we're going and doing preschool down at Cape Fair, how many families are participating in that? So I think there are data components there that will help us know whether or not we're improving those measures. Those are the same data pieces where you see school districts that are doing it really well that are tracking. So it's a complex issue, but one that we have to figure out. And I'm not going to say we have all the answers, but we are certainly working hard to try to figure it out. Great questions. Yes?
What's the median level of your salaries for teachers?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. Probably, if I had to guess what the median level of our salaries for teachers, I would say probably 38,000. About 38,000.
It's less than 40,000.
Yeah.
It's super low.
Yeah, it's really low. 60, the top salaries, I think it's 60. That's if you have like a doctorate degree, which most teachers aren't going to get. Because one of the issues, she asked what's the top salary. One of the issues we have is we don't compensate very well if you hit your master's degree. If you get, the longer you are here, the bigger the gap is between us and Branson and all these other districts. We don't pay well for longevity, and we don't pay well for extra training. Those are the big, we do okay at the base when you first start out as a teacher, but everywhere else, that's where we fall off by thousands of dollars. So, great question. Yes, back in the back.
Right about the daycare, even getting out of distance, so very good in this area. One of the reasons is I think is because it's a poor area, you can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he's looking at to help with that.
We are looking at our model that we're exploring now. We're looking at, there's a variety of things that we're looking at in terms of getting some support through grants. I know, Carrie, you could probably talk to this a little bit better. Do you want to? So yeah, there'll be a sliding scale based off if you're on free reduced lunch, you're going to get a very significantly low tuition cost, if any at all. We also have some local businesses that are buying into our strategic plan. They're saying I had one business owner tell me he's going to give $30,000 a year to support early childhood. So it's a big issue in our area. Great question. Yes, sir. I didn't quite catch it. The volunteer programs?
Volunteer or outside the tutoring program.
Yes. We have tutoring program in the school. We do have some individuals that come into the school to help tutor. Is that what you're asking? Yes, we do have that. Actually, I think strategy 6 or 5 addresses that, continuing to expand on those opportunities. Carrie Padilla is a really big part of creating those partnerships and getting retired educators with our kids. Thank you for asking that. Yes?
What kind of turnover are you seeing in your staff, and how does that compare to other districts?
You've tracked that over time. We're about, over the last 5 years. I don't know the exact percentage. I don't have that off the top. I don't want to just give you a number that I don't have off the top of my head. But we have a lot of new teachers. Like this year, we just lost a couple really dynamic teachers that are leaving because our salary compensation isn't where it needs to be. So I don't know the exact percentage. I'd hate to just be one of those guys that gets up here and throws out a number that I don't know. But it's significant that we've talked about it since I've arrived about retaining quality teachers. So I don't have those percentages, but I can get those, certainly can. Any other questions? Or you just want dessert? Yes.
Are you going to go back to, like math, that kids aren't using the calculator, that they actually know how to work out a problem?
So the question was, are we going back? I don't have all the questions on everything we're doing with math or reading. Yeah. So are we going? There are foundational pieces that our teachers are going through right now. Right now we're trying to push forward with literacy training as our focus on just core phonics, like being able to sound out read words, and then be able to write those words. So we're doing a lot of that work. So, good question. All right. Well, I appreciate it. My office is open. As you sit and digest this, please feel free to contact me if any questions that you might have. We want to try to resolve any concerns. And again, I think everybody, you have the right to vote how you wish, but I think our kids are worth the really small investment compared to the return. So, thank you.